that National Assembly has failed us. And this is just coming weeks after we saw what happened to the sugar report. Yeah. We were hoping that at least you would salvage, repair the image of the National Assembly, but this time you may have voted or tried something that didn't work out, but members of the public have no love for you now.
I think in Imuli, I don't think there is really any time that you can say Parliament is really loved, really. Whether there is this or there is the other, I don't think there is any one time. And we have a very interesting relationship with the public, and especially the Twitter users. But more fundamentally, for me, what disappointed me, and as a member of Parliament, is how it eventually turned out to be chaotic, that we were not even able to give Kenyans a chance to see who exactly voted where, what did we exactly mean, how did we not go clause by clause. For me, that I'm ashamed, and I apologize.
Because that should have been the process.
Because that should have been the process, and I really feel bad, because, you know, someone came to me, and I won't mention the name, and told me, I've taken the microphone from Duale, and you guys are not helping, you guys are not, and I'm like, we are not wired like that. That is not how you do it. And we could not join in, because some of us believe in, you know, decorum, really, and we owe Kenyans that. And in terms of the relationship with the public, you know, Honorable Atandi says we don't follow the electorate, we lead them. But I also agree that if you're leading and no one is following you, then you're merely taking a walk. And as leaders, we don't legislate in a vacuum. We really have to listen. And Kenyans had gotten to a point basically where they have felt enough is enough. And in yesteryears and in earlier times, you could see them telling you, like the Jubilee supporters like ourselves, we were in a tight position, because either way, if I vote yes, you'll say I've taxed you. And if I vote no, you'll say I've gone against the president who you actually voted for. So you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. And some of us decided to do the right thing, because I can explain why.
And
this
many of
was
your colleagues
bad.
had vowed
I
to
can
actually
explain why this was bad, because I can see it. And you don't need even to be an economist to tell that Kenyans will feel it. So I'm sorry for the behavior. And we may not have gotten to the last, and I don't want people to lose hope, because even in 11th Parliament, how many times did Parliament actually even go to court themselves? Even the Senate had gone to court, even to the Supreme Court.
Even you're
so
telling
it is
people
possible,
just go to court.
It is possible. No, we always have a redress, because we can't just give up that we have now not been able to do. Because yesterday, what we saw, it was passed by hook or crook, and the leadership... It passed
by default because of the behavior
but also
of the
leadership of the House. Let me tell you, by the fact that the presiding chair that time even put a noise vote, caused chaos. You know, from the beginning, because she should have followed the standing orders, 72-2, that in every issue where there is a constitutional threshold, go to a division. That way, maybe you'd have saved the situation. But if you ask me, even the leadership was hell-bent to make it pass, whatever it was, from the majority to the minority leader. You know, the people he's talking of party,
even the people asking about the conduct of the speaker, Honorable Kirwa.
The issue in the Muli is that we don't lose hope. It is possible to defend it, because I know the president is going
But away from the National Assembly now.
It will have to be away from the National Assembly. We cannot lie to people that will go back and vote tomorrow. It won't work.
The National Assembly was not of much help yesterday.
We'll have to get the redress, and that can only be in the judiciary.
Let's talk now about the conduct of the speaker. And Kirinyaga, at Junior Mato, he calls himself Kirinyaga Finest. On Twitter, he asks, no, he actually says that headline should be, the speaker passed the bill. Honorable Kirwa, what do you think about the conduct of Speaker Justin Muturi yesterday and how he handled the matter? At some point, we saw it on TV, in the news, where he was sitting between the clerk and another official of parliament, and a few meters away, the majority leader was holding a microphone, and they were just going clause by clause and passing it. What do you think about that kind of conduct?
Well, I think the speaker could have done better, because I know him. We worked together closely in a number of issues when I was a member of parliament and he was also a member of parliament. But the way he did yesterday, it was like he just wanted to bulldoze everything. He never wanted to listen to alternative opinion. And in the process, even the executive was not able to tell us what is their commitment on their part in terms of making savings. Because why we are taxing Kenyans is because we have refused to make savings where we can. We have refused to go for projects that are doable. And I see more about politics in this budget than about economics. In the sense that, as I've said before, the executive is fighting itself. And I think President Uhuru Kenyatta should rein in good manners, both in the executive and also in parliament.
Yes.
Because parliament, members of parliament, they are exerting their authority. But in the process, some of them can be misused.
Would we be unfair to actually question Speaker Muturi's actions yesterday in relation to other speakers who've been there before him? Kenneth Marende, Ole Kaparo. You were in Parliament when Speaker Francis Ole Kaparo was a speaker.
Yes.
Can you draw any parallels? Because I know even back then there were instances where members of the National Assembly went rogue. We've seen fights in that house. How the speakers then handled the matter vis-a-vis how Speaker Muturi handled the matter yesterday.
Yes, I worked under 3 speakers as a member of parliament, the late Professor Ngeno, the late Moses Keino, and the Speaker Ole Kaparo. The 3 of them were working under one-party system, but still there were enough drama during that time, because some of us were much younger than we are today. We were dealing with issues independently from the party position. And a speaker yesterday behaved like a typical one-party system speaker, in the sense that, yes, members of parliament may be rowdy, but you are supposed to be the last person to lose your sobriety. He should have been able to handle the house better and also bring back all members so that they go through each and every step and be able to achieve what could be seen to be a compromise. Now, when they go to court, yes, they may achieve 1 or 2 things, but the overall thing is that we are not putting the button on the executive on areas where they need to step up measures to make savings.
Yes, the conduct of the Speaker.
The Speaker, what do you mean? What wrong did the Speaker commit? What offense did he commit?
No, we're just asking about the conduct.
The Speaker is an arbiter, and he follows the rules passed by the House Standing Orders.
Did you feel like he handled that kind of
there's nothing wrong
misbehavior by
there's
members
nothing wrong.
of the National Assembly?
There's nothing wrong the Speaker did. In fact, it is we are putting the Speaker in an awkward position as honorable members of Parliament. When we go to the House and we decide to heckle and to howl, yeah, I think the Speaker, I want to sympathize with the Speaker. Sympathize with the Speaker because he's presiding over a House that do not constitute honorable members, people who come to the House to heckle. Yeah, the Speaker follows the standing orders as passed by ourselves. Our standing orders are actually written by
so
members.
You have no
I have no issue
question
with
with regard to
the Speaker has been, there are some occasions where the Speaker has been dictatorial, but on this one of yesterday, the Speaker cannot take blame.
Okay. Honorable Martha.
I would also not really delve into his behavior. I would say clearly we have mechanisms in Parliament. If we feel that we are aggrieved, then we have the chance to do a substantial impeachment or whatever it is. So I may not be there. This is not the right forum for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I think they are trying to be decent because they are dealing with a colleague of theirs. But for me, as a Kenyan, who also was in that house for 20 years and went through standing orders several times, and also I sufficiently understand the procedure of the house. If I was to preside over today, there is also the way of demeanor. You cannot say this is official position. That's what he said. You know, whatever you utter is going to be the sum total of what you say, what you do, even gestures that you make is going to be your personality. Yesterday, Speaker Muturi did us not proud as we should have had.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the party voted for. So the party voted for, or is it that you represent the party instead of the people of Allegro Songa? That's a question too. And very many people are asking the same question.
And this is, we are an example of other developed democracies. These are on issues of policy, on issues of taxation. This taxation is a policy issue that no member of parliament should pretend to me that he can take his own position. If you go to any democracy, these are issues that political parties must take a position on. And I am happy that I took the position of my party.
I am embarrassed.
Yes, because, you know, which democracy are we comparing ourselves with? The political party must have a position on taxation, on all these things, you know.
Let me tell you, Mule, you know, he does. I think Honorable Atandi doesn't speak for me. That you don't have a brain because it was taken by your party leadership. You know, you can make up your choice. Because if we were just following the party position, and that's what I was telling my colleagues, then we would not have even amended the finance bill. We would have passed it the way it came from the executive because it was the property of the government. We would not have touched it because anyway, it came from our government. So we would have let it go the way it was. But we amended unanimously in that house, and that is why we are here. We unanimously postponed the 16% to 2020. Unanimously from either side. So in terms of party, and if I remember, you know, even Honorable Raila Odinga was one of the first people to comment in public that, don't worry, when the president comes back, he will deal with this thing and it will be over. They later had their motions and they were convinced otherwise. But I can tell you, they did not convince even a quarter of their leadership and even a quarter of their membership in that house, because the majority were actually taking a position from an informed point of view that these taxes will hurt Kenyans and we represent them as the representatives of the people. We cannot put earplugs, even if we like. And it's not that we don't respect our leadership, but sometimes a wrong is just a wrong, and we can take a position.
Honorable Kira, this is the face of the National Assembly. There are those who feel that the party is supreme, that if a party, the party that sponsored them to the National Assembly takes a decision, that's final.
Yeah, I just want us to understand a bit of democracy. Democracy, when a member of parliament is elected, is not a delegate, is a representative of the people. And at all times, he must do something that is not at variance with the wishes of the people. Now, the challenge that comes is that Mheshimiwa Tandi was not against the policy of the party. Mheshimiwa Wangari is not against the policy of the party, because members of parliament, that's why the House is supposed to do the appropriation bill, because they are supposed to be unique as individuals, give some kind of input that can assist even the executive to improve on its own performance. So I don't think they should feel guilty on what they did yesterday. They were doing something within their mandate as members of parliament by supporting and even opposing. Because that uniqueness is what makes parliament interesting. But if all of them were to say yes, all of them were to say no, then they lose their uniqueness as individual members of parliament.
And that was a promise when many people expressed reservations about the handshake, Honorable Atandi, because there were many questions and there were fears that the handshake had blurred the lines between the majority and minority in parliament, that now we do not know really. Do we have one unified Jubilee administration? Do we still have a NASA as a minority? Now, you say that simply because after the handshake now Raila Odinga, your party leader, gave you a certain position, you simply voted that way. Are you not affirming the kind of fears that we had?
No.
And the reservations we expressed
as a party, we have continued to take positions on many issues. Some of the positions we have taken have been at variance with the positions of Jubilee government.
Which one, for example? Because the last few weeks we've seen the leader of minority agreeing with everything the majority side is doing.
In fact, they are better.
We have disagreed with Jubilee on, for instance, on police reforms. We have disagreed with Jubilee on police reforms. No, as a party. We have taken positions that are at variance with Jubilee on things like police reforms, things like corruption, the war on corruption. Some of us believe that the government is playing lip service on their own corruption. So we continue to take positions that are at variance with... No, as a political party, we make our positions known. And there's something that I really would not like Kenyans to tell us, We did not go to elections to go to opposition. We offered ourselves as potential government in waiting. And our president candidate, Amolo Odinga, wanted to become president of this country. When he did not become the president of this country, Kenyans cannot abrogate the mandate of checking the government on us, because that's not our business. So this argument that
really,
Raila Odinga
are you
should
willing
have...
to repeat what you just said?
Yes.
That it's not your role to check what the government is doing.
We will check the government, but the Kenyans cannot sit. Kenyans who did not push us into power so that we could implement our policies, which we have always marketed, cannot sit down and can't tell us that where is Raila Odinga to come and stand with Kenya.
But
that's not our business.
As an individual member of the National Assembly, isn't that your main role, to oversight the executive?
That's my, and that's what we have said. We do it as a team. I did not go to work into parliament alone. We are a team in parliament that implement our policies that are generated from our party. And what we are doing is that once we have taken a position, we look at all the issues that come that are of national significance. And I've said taxation is a very important issue.
What would you say?
Public debt is a very important issue.
What would you say to
that
I cannot
because in parliament I cannot legislate alone. And for parliament issues to pass, we must get numbers. And that's why we must caucus around our political parties. These are facts that we must live with. And if we are not living with this fact, then we are just being dishonest.
Okay.
I think the silver lining for yesterday in Ndimule, for me, is because, as you hear, they have clearly said they will not do opposition work. So in terms of checking the government, the only hope for this country is a parliament that works, and a parliament that can think on its own, and a parliament that can take decisions that are with the people, for the people.
Do you think that was a parliament we saw yesterday?
It is a start. We may not have achieved, but I can tell you, for us, for many of us, to go against, it's not an easy decision. Because some of us were threatened, were intimidated. You know, if you go this way, why are you voting with them? And we ask, who are them? Because after the handshake, there is no them and there is no us. I mean, as a parliament. So some of us, and so many, actually stood in their positions and took a position against the party leadership. It's not an easy decision, by the way.
Yes.
But I can tell you, it is a step in the right direction. That finally, we may redeem, and it's early enough, we may eventually redeem parliament, that we can have a democratic space and be able to play our oversight role effectively.
But you admit that at this point, that is not happening.
It is happening. It is happening.
Honorable Kirwa, this is the kind of animal we're dealing with.
The fact that we
Totally
can get
different
the president to even come this far, if you ask me, is a step in the right direction. Because other times, the finance bill will not even be amended as it was, unanimous.
Honorable Kirwa, I think the only option for us is to go to court. The members of the National Assembly have told us, yes, it's happened, go to court.
Well, I think we may go to court, but at times also court will check whether the procedure was followed and whether the processes were right and whether any of the laws that have now been passed and probably ascended by the president will go against the constitution or any other law in the land. Otherwise, members of parliament, they cannot shirk their responsibility and run away from making decisions on behalf of Kenyans. As I said, they are not delegates, they are representatives of the people. And each one of us would have wanted to know, how did my MP vote yesterday? Because they should have called a division for us to know how did they vote.
Yes.
For me to know, how do I consider my MP? And when I engage him next time, I engage him on the basis of how he voted. But now many of them will make it convenient. Though I voted no when it is convenient, I voted yes when it is convenient. That is what is worrying me. And as Mheshimiwa Wangari has said, yes, I agree, it is the beginning. But you see, as they say, one swallow does not make a summer. So we need to see more of this, and also in a structured way, not in a chaotic manner.
Yes. What the members of the National Assembly yesterday did ensured that once that bill is assented to by the president, excise duty on all bank transactions will double from 10% to 20%. Kerosene prices will go up by 18 shillings a litre. You're using of your mobile telephone and internet service, you'll have to pay a 15% excise duty, as well as a 20% excise duty on mobile money transfer services, meaning all this will cost you a lot more. And that is just the reality. Well, quite a number of questions I've seen here, and as I said earlier, Honorable Atandi, a lot of criticism coming your way. Yes, but you say you stand your ground.
Yes.
If at all you had gone, you had been called upon to vote electronically in Parliament, you'd still have said yes. Because
there are issues that the decisions that were made in Parliament as individual members. But as I want to repeat that on issues of taxation, we cannot be a political party in this country that has no position on those issues. That we ask our members to go to the House and think for themselves. That one cannot work.
Members should not go and think for themselves.
There are issues that we have thought on ourselves. You know,
but we don't have the capacity.
But there are important national issues.
And
I want to insist taxation is an issue that a political party, worth its salt, must have a position on.
And no member should go against that.
And the political party must direct their members on, because the party must take responsibility for such.
So what would you say to those members of your party that went against the party's
They should be disciplined.
The
party should discipline, but going against the party, yes.
Then you have a lot on
I'm
your
expecting
plate.
the party to discipline members who did not stand with it
You
in
have
this
a lot.
position. Because the party cannot exist in a vacuum. If you are a political party that wants to take power in future, and you have members running helter-skelter in every direction saying that I disagree with my party. You disagree with your party, you resign from that party.
Wow.
That is very clear. And if some members of our party who went against the party decision should be actually, I'm expecting the party to summon them for disciplinary action.
Honorable Tandi, I'll ask you to go through on Twitter after the show.
Yes,
just
I will.
Just search for your name and see the kind of tweets. There's a lot of reaction, criticism coming your way. But now, when we talk about the way forward, is the court the only option? Are we saying that as far as Parliament is concerned, this business you're done with it? Now it's up to the members of the public if they want to go to court. You would
only hope against hope that the president does not assent to it.
But I
have a feeling it will be assented to before he leaves for Unga, in the US. And we will not lie to Kenyans that it will be done in Parliament again. It won't be repeated. That one, I can assure you, it won't be repeated because the special sitting was specifically for it, and it ended up like you can see on the screen. But the judiciary is still our hope, and I hope that, and I'm almost convinced that it will actually get there somehow. And I really want to apologize to the behavior of MPs. You know, I am still also in shock. I was in that house and I was confused because it was not right. I wish we actually behaved better and we take the blame on so many of the issues, but more importantly, the blame we must take is from the budget making. Okay. That next time we don't get ourselves in this hole, because there is no time we have closed this deficit ever of this budgeting. We just want to have a big budget for the sake of it. So let us even have a 1 trillion or 2 trillion and manage it and ensure we have enough resources for it, so that we can now tell Kenyans, you know, this supplementary, it really also had impact on Kenyans, because when you remove LPG distribution for the gas, there is no chako. And for me, it is for the Mwananchi in Kibera, it's a Mwananchi in Bondeni, in Gilgil, who cannot even cook 3 meals a day because they depend on paraffin, and 18 shillings per litre is quite something for them. Yes. So I hope we eventually will get to do it better than we have done it this year. Okay, final comments?
Yeah. Well, my prayer is that despite the court process, whatever the results, next year we have another budget. We hope the executive has learned something. This was a wake-up call where members of Jubilee and NASA voted regardless of the party position, so that they prepare a better budget next year. They also report to us how they have improved in terms of pilferage, theft, and also more important, how have they retired debt owing to the contractors, farmers, and suppliers of goods and services to the government, because that is the engine of growth. Unless you pay those people to stimulate growth, farmers is like
are not still paid.
Up to now, they have not been paid 3 billion. So I don't know whether this budget is really a budget or is just a paper. So my prayer is that pay these people as you deal with external debt. This internal debt is very important. Pending bills forms a very important component. I remember during DG Njoroge, pending bills used to form the first charge on any expenses of every ministry. It should be the same today, because what is happening in Dimuli is that if I am owed by government 100 million and they owe me nothing today except for maize, if they default, there is what they call penalties, there is the interest, cost of machinery and plant, and this may go up to 200 million, 300 million. Eventually they will pay me for work not done. And this is money that we are now asking taxpayers to give us to pay for work not done. That is negative economic growth.
Yes, and as you answer that, I would want you to comment on Parliament's general handling of the entire budget-making process, because Parliament is at the center of this process. Do you think they've handled it the best way they could?
Well, as I have said before, I think we need to change the way we conduct the budgeting and revenue-raising proposals, measures. I think, as I've said, we need to start with the finance bill, so that once we are done with the finance bill, we have outlined revenue-raising measures, and we know how much money we collect from each proposal. Then now we can go back and now write the budget, the expenditure side. But what I wanted to observe is that, as a country, we need to stop the obsession of having to run a big budget, 3 trillion budget, 4 trillion budget. I think we need to really run a budget that we can fund. And even if the budget is only 1.5 trillion, let us live with that so that we avoid this deficit. And lastly, Kenyans must be ready to correct the mistakes of the past, especially as far as the economic management is concerned. There are certain mistakes we did. We overborrowed for projects that are not giving us returns. And this is the moment that Kenyans must come back and rectify those errors. Those errors will be corrected if we institute taxation measures, and Kenyans must be ready to be taxed, so that in the short run or in the long run, we'll be able to run away from this, from the effects of overborrowing. Because as we talk right now, more than half of our GDP is going to be used to fund debt. And you know, this is not very healthy. So it means, therefore, that we must up our taxation measures. And this is something that Kenyans must be alive to. We cannot blame MPs, you cannot blame anybody, because these are mistakes we have done. It will only get worse if we are going to bring Kenya back to the right economic path.
Okay.
I think my final words, you know, Kenyans will not even have an issue with paying tax as long as they're assured that their tax is put to the right use. If you listen to the president, he really had a hard time trying to say, we will collect this tax and we will ensure it is spent wisely. Why? Because the outcry is as simple as that, that we have talked of fighting corruption. We have said some money will be repatriated from Swiss accounts. How much has come back? You know, people have not seen fruit of this fight of corruption. We are now pushing the cases to next year, pushing them over and over, and we have not seen convictions. We have not seen serious fights with corruption. Because if you're paying tax and you're getting services, you will not have an issue. You'll see good roads, you'll see, and you'll be okay. The education, you will get proper education, you get proper health care, you will see the fruits of your taxes. So the issue is, in terms of fights of corruption, we must see fruit. We have talked about it. We have said all there is to say. We must show how much are we able to save. Because even now, we are making noise because of, say, 70 billion or whatever. But we lose 400 billion that is not accounted for each year. I mean, are we crazy as a country? We need to get to that point where we know we have sealed the holes. Pilferage is done, wastages are reduced, and more development is shown. That way, Kenyans will even have, they will even volunteer to pay taxes. Yeah. Wow.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. As you wake up today, this is what you're waking up to. Excise duty on all bank transactions doubling from 10 to 20%. Kerosene prices going up by 18 shillings a litre, 15% excise duty on all telephone and internet services, 20% excise duty on money transfer service, and of course the big one, 8% VAT on all petroleum products. And that is a fact that as soon as President Uhuru Kenyatta passes that finance bill, as it was passed by Parliament, as soon as he assents to it, this will become a reality. Thank you so much, Honorable Samatandi MP Alegu Songa, Honorable Wangari MP Gilgil, and Kipruto Rapkirwa, Deputy Party Leader ANC, helping us look at the issues behind the biggest headline that we have this Friday. Remember, Daybreak still continues. That's the hashtag to use. Twitter handle @CitizenTV Kenya. Let's now get a traffic update by Willis.